Now students, here again I welcome you to my third video on literary devices. As we have already discussed personification, and you must be confused between personification and metaphor now. So here I am trying to resolve your confusion, trying to solve your problem. That is, the personification and metaphor are different from each other. As we have already discussed, metaphor makes an indirect comparison that might not be necessary to make, but in personification, human personification attributes human characteristics to something non-human. Like in uh, personification does not always use human or human characteristics, but metaphor does not always use human or human characteristics, but personification always uses human or human characteristics. For example, it will be clear to you by reading the example says, Hicks' cousin is a bookworm. A person cannot be a bookworm, but Hicks' cousin has been given the title of the bookworm because he might be a person who might be going through his books extensively. That's why he has been titled as bookworm. So here metaphor is being used where Hick is being compared to bookworm. Now in personification, the wind whispered secret of winter in the wind whispered secret of winter in my ears. Now wind cannot whisper anything. Just the intensity of the wind is being described. That's why I have said that the wind whispered secret of winter in my ears. So wind has been personified over here, and that's why we can say that wind has been given human characteristic. So that's why we can say that the literary device which is being used over here is personification. And children, don't get confused, personification and metaphor, both the literary devices can be used in single sentence as well. In your poem, class 12 students, ISE students, in your poem The Darkling Thrush, you will find that both the devices are used in single sentence itself. Now paradox. What is a paradox? Paradox is you can say a figure of speech in which there are two contradictory statements in a single sentence. One statement is contradictory to the other. So that's why that statement is known as paradox. For example, I am nobody. I am nobody in itself is a paradox. I am, then nobody. Firstly I am saying I am, then I am saying nobody. It becomes a paradox. I am nobody. Now the second sentence says, this is the beginning of an end. If something is going to begin, then why it should end? But there are two phrases in the sentence which are contradictory to each other, which are opposite to each other. That's why we can say that the figure of speech which is being used over here is paradox. The next sentence says, there are rules, ignore all the rules. Here are the rules, ignore all the rules. I am saying that here are certain rules, but it is not mandatory for you to follow the rules. So I request you to ignore all the rules. Hope paradox is clear to you. Paradox is nothing. A paradox is just a sentence in which there are two contradictory phrases in a single sentence. Now coming to oxymoron. Now students, don't get yourself confused between oxymoron and paradox. हम इशारा कर रहे हैं कि जैसे ये लगा दीजिए. Now students, coming to oxymoron. Now don't get yourself confused between paradox and oxymoron. As I have told you that in paradox, two contradictory there are two contradictory phrases in a sentence, but in oxymoron there are two contradictory words in a sentence. In a sentence, there must be two contradictory words, so that figure of speech is known as oxymoron. For example, the comedian was seriously funny. Seriously and funny. Being serious is something which is a part of somebody's nature, and being funny is also a part is something which is also a part of somebody's nature. But it is not possible that a person who is funny can be serious as well. It cannot be viewed together. So whenever the sentence is written in such a way, you can easily judge that this sentence is oxymoron sentence. The second sentence is, there was deafening silence in the class. Silence means there is no sound, and deafening means there is no sound. So both the words again are contradictory to each other. They are busy without business. People are busy whenever they have some work to do, but here we are saying they are busy but without business. Without business is contradictory to the word busy. That's why the figure of speech which is being used over here is oxymoron. Now, no one goes to that restaurant, it is always crowded. If no one goes to that restaurant, then how can it be said that it is crowded? So it's again the crowded and goes, no one goes. Again, crowded and no one goes are two contradictory terms. That's why we can say the figure of speech which is being used over here in this sentence is oxymoron. Do you have original copies? Now, original means something which is first hand, whereas copies means something which has been copied. So original copies are also contradictory words. That's why we can say that the figure of speech which is being used over here is oxymoron. Now, climax. What is a climax, students? Climax, you can say, is a series of idea in a piece of writing in ascending order. For example, a story to build a fire started with man's journey. The man continued his journey, and then the man made several attempts to make the fire. Then on few occasions he succeeded, and then at last, on the last occasion when he was not successful, he surrendered to death. So climax is there. One incident follows the other, and the incident which is at last, whenever we are trying to judge which figure of a speech is being used in certain sentence, and when we have to say that that the figure of speech being used over here is climax, then the word which is at last, then the sequence order of incident which is at last is it is very much important, is the most important incident in the sentence, or is in a story or in any piece of literature. Then only we can say that it is a climax. For example, he learned, he wrote, he passed, succeeded. Firstly, a person learns, then the person writes, and then the person succeeds. So it is a sequence of event where succeeding or passing is more important than the other two. That's why we can say that climax is the figure of speech which is being used over here. Now, talking about anticlimax. What is anticlimax, students? Anticlimax, as we can all see, that it is a series, so it is also a series of idea, just like climax is a series of idea, but anticlimax is a series of idea in descending order. Firstly, the incident which was most important comes first, and the incident which is least important comes at last in such a figure of speech. For example, he lost his family, his car, and his cell phone. Now see, family is family is of first and foremost important to all the individuals, be it you, me, or anyone else in this world. And then comes the car, and then the cell phone. The smallest thing is cell phone. So it is said that the cell phone was lost, and he lost his cell phone. At the end, it is being written about cell phone, but first and foremost important thing, that is family, is being written at first. That's why we can say that the figure of speech which is being used over here is anticlimax. She is a great doctor, a writer, and a cook. She is a great doctor, a mother, and a cook. Now, students, tell me which of the three things is most important. Being a doctor is most important. Then being a mother is important. Then comes the cook. But the thing of foremost important has been stated initially. That's why we can say that the figure of speech which is being used over here is anticlimax. Now, hope all the 12 figures of speech which are mostly used in English literature is clear to you all. It should be clear that figure of speeches are nothing. They are just devices, they are just phrases, they are just words which are used in a piece of literature to make our literature more meaningful, more understanding, more attractive, more appealing to the readers. That's it. Thank you, students.